And we are live.
You are now tuned in to Mind, Body, and Soul with ANet, where your hosts, Annette Harris, analyze intriguing life questions and concerns, such as, do Christians suffer from mental illness? Have you wondered why they act abnormal? Or you may ask, what is really going on in their minds? Do you need a net? Well, keep listening for a biblical understanding of the psychology of the mind.
Hey, guys. Welcome to another wonderful segment of Mind, Body, and Soul with ANet. I'm your host, Annette Harris. Thank you so much for joining us on today, for watching and or listening. Before I get started, what I must do, acknowledge the Lord in prayer. Lord, we thank you for this wonderful day that you have blessed us to see. We thank you for who you are. We thank you because we want to give you the glory in all that we go to say and do. And we pray that you will bless us as we do so. In Jesus' name we pray. And the opening scripture that I normally like to quote is the first part of Hosea 4:6. And it states, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. And I am excited to be here. I am always excited on the Wednesday. If you see my face around 12 noon, then that means Mind, Body, and Soul is on. And you may be on a lunch break. You may be just passing through, but I do encourage you to stick with us on today. We have a hot topic on today, and it is it's sensitive. It's a very sensitive topic. And I want you all to please make sure you join in with us. Now, let me tell you this. There are two different ways that you can listen to us on today. I'm here on the Facebook Live feed, my page, ANet, known as ANet. And I do ask that if you would not mind, please come on in, click the share button, throw up the hearts, the thumbs up, the care button, if you would not mind, for me on today, because we want this message to go out. And then also you will hear the audio portion of today's live feed on my YouTube channel right now. If you go to YouTube, GetCaughtInANet, ANET, you will hear us there. But then also at the end of the show, we will upload the video portion so you may see it as well. You see two beautiful women in our midst. We're going to do a little disclaimer. I'm going to ask my sister. She is actually my co-host on today again. Gwendolyn Gaston Gray is here. How are you feeling?
I'm awesome today. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Wonderful.
I'm so looking forward to this show.
Well, I am too. This is something that it's sensitive, but it's needed to discuss.
Absolutely. And having said that, I want to advise all viewers, all listeners, that the subject matter today is potentially, or can be potentially, raw, cut, no holds barred, so it may not be suitable for young children. So if you've got your young kids around, if you're at home, or if you are in the car, or wherever you are, if you have young children, this would not be the program to have them listen in on. So just want to let you guys know, give you the opportunity to maybe get your kids online to school, because I think they should be in school right now, or give them some toys to play with. This is adult, very sensitive subject. So there you are.
Thank you so much, Gwendolyn. I appreciate it. Now we have another lady here, a beautiful woman of God that I'm going to introduce to many of you. I know her already. When I tell you this is a sweetheart of sweethearts, I am not just saying that. From the moment that I met this beautiful person, she has been the same ever since. Mechelle Hollins Casey is in the house, virtual house, if you will. How are you doing on this afternoon?
I am well, Annette. I am well. I'm doing well. I just want to extend a huge thank you right now for allowing me to be here. And I'm excited. I'm nervous, but we got this.
We got this. I'm right there with you. I'm giving you a virtual hug and all of that, and whatever
I feel it.
to help you to get through this. May I add that I think it's very admirable of you right now. And I think I appreciate you being able to come on and be transparent. So we're with you in this. Just so you will know, you're not alone. Okay, you're not alone.
Thank you.
And of course, thank you for accepting my invite to come on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful. I see many of you on already, and I want to acknowledge you. I want you guys to know that I appreciate you, and those of you who are already sharing on today. I see you, JR and Nicola and Victoria Jones and Brandy is on as well. I think I saw some other names, but they didn't pop up right now. So, but I thank each of you, and please, 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 please hit the share button. It's right down there. Hit the share button. I always tell you, it costs you nothing. It costs you nothing to click that share button. Now on today, as we've already said, it's a sensitive topic, but I want to actually read a little bio about Mechelle on today. Do you pronounce it Mechelle? Mechelle? How do you do it?
It's Mechelle. That's the way my mother, when she named me, that was the pronunciation she had in mind with the spelling. So it's Mechelle, but I don't trip over the pronunciation.
Okay, I actually love it as Mechelle. This is different to me, you know what I mean?
I get it a lot.
Okay, all right, well, wonderful, Let's see here. I have, and I'm pulling it up as I'm talking here. Why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you kind of get prepared to talk about you yourself in your own words as I'm pulling up your actual bio.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind introducing who you are to my guest on today.
Good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon, everyone that's listening. Thank you for joining in. I am Mechelle. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I have 4 children. I'm an advocate. I speak on behalf of children who are marginalized, children seeking equity for children in education and social services. I've grown to, because of things that I've seen, things that have happened to me as well, God has given me the voice to be able to really speak, get myself educated in certain things and really be able to speak on behalf of children who are marginalized. And I do it wherever community I'm in. I go out, I speak on awareness, education, as it relates to mainly child sexual abuse. And so, yeah, so that's me in a nutshell right now at this phase in my life. As I said, I am a mother of 4, so that keeps me quite busy as well. But I have a heart for children. I always have. And so God has given me this mission at this time.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
She goes on, she's very modest. She is gone to foreign lands assisting, and I've seen your posts. So she's being very modest right now. But I think the thing that drew me to you is your heart.
Okay.
And I can understand why children are very dear to you and your well-being, if you will. But your heart is what drew me to you, and that's what I meant by she's been the same ever since. Let me read a little bit here. Advocator Mechelle Hollins Casey. As she stated, she's the wife of 19 years to Perry Casey Sr. Very nice young man, very nice. And mom of 4 amazing children, Kara, Paul, Caroline, and PJ, who just went off to college. All right, wonderful. And it says she was born on Chicago's West Side and at age 6 moved to Evanston, Illinois. Her former educational years were in the Evanston public school system. And after graduating from high school, she attended Oakton Community College. However, she soon realized college was not for her at that time. So in 1994, she decided to aggressively pursue her love for acting through several local theatrical platforms, one being, is it Juma?
Juma. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Productions. It was during this time Mechelle felt a clear calling to pursue acting. Yes. However, The 1998 summer production of Slow Rain, A Quiet Place, which was a portrayal of a 7-year-old girl's sexual abuse by her uncle after cocaine binges, triggered haunting memories of her childhood she could not circumvent. And then it goes on to talk about how she was trying to escape that part of her past by relocating to Maryland to pursue her love for sign language interpreting at Catonsville College. All right, so we're gonna kind of stop right there with the resume, the bio that you have. I call it a resume, the bio that you have, because we want to start trying to insert today's topic. Now, thank you again, Gwen, for that disclaimer at the beginning, because this is sensitive. Now, I don't know why it's like really affecting me. Maybe because I know you, and then hearing about what happened to you, really, it tore at my heart. So why don't we start there with what happened and what age you were and why that particular play brought back those haunting memories for you.
Okay, so upon moving to Evanston at 6 or 7, my mother was a single mother. And so we came to this foreign land pretty much. We had we didn't have, we had family, but it was like in-laws. And so being a single mother, my mother was on her hustle trying to secure a job and find childcare for the children. And the only way she could work is if she had childcare, obviously. And so someone recommended a home daycare for us right down the street from where we lived. So it didn't require my mother, who didn't have a car at the time, it didn't require her to have transportation to get us there. And she didn't work that far from the home, so she could walk or take the bus. And so it was during that time, because when I left the West Side, I left familiarity. My cousins, my church, my mom's first cousin is a pastor on the West Side. So it was all my family there. I felt safe. And so I was moving to a new area that, and rightfully so, children are resilient, but we still like to connect to our familiarity. And so, but having my siblings there with me, obviously, you know, we were that strength for each other. So my mother found a babysitter for us right down the street from where we lived. And when I started going to the babysitter's house, I was 8. And so the mother, you know, she had older children, but she would always ask me to go to the store for her to get a pack of Newport cigarettes at the corner store. And I couldn't understand why she would always ask me to go. She would give me $2. They were $1.80. There was 20 cents left over, and she said I could keep the change. So, and I probably kept doing it because of the 20 cents, and I could buy some, what are those Twisters, Jolly Rancher things, you know? And so, but I did it, but I just felt, even in my 8-year-old self, I felt like this is a little weird. She has older children. Why isn't she sending them to the store? So as time went on, you know, our routine was we'd go there in the morning, the bus would pick us up at the corner. We go to school. We get out of school, the bus would drop us off at the corner, and we'd walk back to her house. That was our routine every day. And so daily I would go there. They were a family of a different nationality than I was. So there was always exotic foods that were always there, you know. They didn't do traditional breakfast, eggs and bacon. They may have done a rice or plantains or something like that. So it always smelled good in that house when we came home from school. And of course we would be hungry. And so the routine was we come in, we take our shoes off, we sit in front of a television. Woody Woodpecker would be on religiously at about 3:30 every day. And I wasn't, up until then, I wasn't a cartoon kid at all. I didn't like cartoons. And so, but I found myself immersed in Woody Woodpecker because that's just what everyone else was doing. And so this particular day, when I went home, I took my shoes off and I sat down, and one of the older sons came behind me and started pulling my little ponytails. And I looked at him like, why are you bothering me? You know? And so he pulled one side, kind of jovial, you know, that's how they kind of reel you in a little bit, you know, it was jovial. So he pulled the other side, and I said, please don't do that, you know? And then there were like two here and then one in the back. And then he pulled the back one really hard. And I looked at him, and I remember my brother who's right under me, he looked at him as well. And was, you know, he didn't say anything, but the look he gave implied, stop touching my sister. She said, stop. So he kept doing it, but he was laughing. So later on that day, after we had eaten, my mother would typically pick us up about 6 o'clock. And so after we had finished eating, so this may have been about 5, he grabbed my hand and said, come with me, I want to show you something. And I remember getting up. I was reluctant, but I did it anyway. And I remember looking back at my siblings like, somebody gonna help me? Like, I just felt like something wasn't right. And so he took me in the bathroom and he started showing me toothpaste. And I still didn't understand, like, why are you showing me toothpaste? And then he asked me to lay down. And I wasn't exposed to stuff like this before that time. We didn't even have a TV really growing up. So there was nothing on television that would, I guess, charge my memory to things. So he laid me on the ground and began to take my pants off. And I squirmed, I pulled my legs tight together. And I remember him inserting his hands in to spread them apart. And I clapped them back together. And I said, please stop. And he did it again. And at that point, he told me, you know, this is between us and you're gonna like it, I promise you. And he put his hand over my mouth and he took down his pants. And I still, at that moment, was like, I remember looking up and I could see, I saw the door, but I saw the threshold of the door. And you can actually see people walking by. You saw a shadow and you saw people walking by. And I was like, I thought somebody was gonna come in, and I was like, good, I don't have to say anything because somebody's gonna come in. Somebody's gonna see what's going on. He's either gonna get up, or if it's an adult, they're gonna tell him, what are you doing? So I remember him taking down his pants and inserting his penis into my vagina, and the numbness that I felt, I wanted to scream so bad because it hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. And he told me, he said, this is between us. He whispered in my ear, this is between us. You're gonna enjoy it. And I just sat there numb. I sat numb, I was stoic. I didn't know how to feel. I guess he did what he had to do, you know what I mean? He had to do what he had to do to get himself to feel the way he needed to feel. That was done. He got up, he pulled his pants up, and I had on corduroy pants the very first time. And I looked down as I was lifting up my pants. There was stuff, which I know what it is now. I didn't know what it was then, but I was just remember like just looking at my hands. He walked out. Before he walked out, he looked back at me and said, remember, this is between us. And he walked out, and that's when it all began. And it happened for a whole year after that. Always the same spot, the same position, the same act. I don't recall him ever having me act out anything on him. It was just always that. And until my mother found us somewhere, she never knew. And let me back up a little bit. You know, people always ask, why didn't you tell? Why didn't you say anything? Why? You know, that if you ever know somebody that's gone through that is the last thing people should ever ask. Why didn't you? No matter if you're 8 or if you're 58, you never say that at all, because unless you've experienced it yourself, that's the last thing. When someone's telling, especially at a child, somebody's telling you, don't say anything. Don't say anything. This is our secret. And so it lasted for a whole year while we were in school. And then we moved away. And so we didn't move that far from that particular area. It was still in the area. And so, but during that time, and this is when I talked about being an advocate for children in school, marginalized children. And what I mean by marginalized is those children that are being victimized, because you know, you have like horse whisperers and dog. I can almost sense when a child is being victimized in some way, whether it's sexual, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical, whether it's mental. I can sense, and this is why, one of the reasons why I push so hard for representation in schools, Black representations, whether it's administrators, teachers, support staff, because during that time, when I was going to school, my favorite teacher, Miss Lee, she was my teacher at the time. And so I went to school with all types of issues internally. I never said anything to her about it. One incident in particular was when my mother couldn't afford to buy us gym shoes at the time for school by me. So I had to wear my church shoes to school. And so that meant I couldn't play PE because Mr. Smith wasn't having us, you know, on his floor with church shoes on. So I sat out, and when Miss Lee came down, she dropped us off for PE. We did our PE. When she came back to pick us up, I was sitting on the wall crying. And she looked at me and said, Mechelle, what's wrong with you? And I said, Mr. Smith said I couldn't play because I don't have the right shoes on. And the look on her face was just because I was one of like 3 Black children in her classroom. And so when we got back to the classroom, from that time up until the end of the day, she had made connections with my mother already to take me home with her after school. She took me home, she took me to Payless, she bought me a pair of gym shoes. She took me to McDonald's afterwards. I went to her home, and then she brought me back to the babysitters. And it was at that moment, I was so tempted to tell her what was going on, because that was one of the incidents, one of the times. But the time that the picture that you have that I posted, that was the day things got really bad, the day before at the babysitter's house, because I felt like my body parts were coming apart, burning, stuff coming out. I had no idea what was coming out of my body. I was in so much pain physically in my vagina. I burned so bad. And so I went to school, and my teacher, Miss Lee, she looked at me and said, what's wrong, Mechelle? And I couldn't tell her because I couldn't really articulate what was happening to me at that time. And the pain was so bad. And so the kids were going out to lunch, and I lingered because I felt like I needed to stay in her arms. I needed to stay with her. So she told the class to go outside, and she kept me in with her during lunch. And she had a salad. I remember her having a salad. She's like, do you want half of it? And I gave her half of my salad. And she gave me half of her salad. And she said, what's wrong? And I could not bring myself to tell her what had happened to me the day before. And that was the picture. That was picture day. My hair was a mess. I was like, Mom, really? But I think I did that myself because I was so sad that day. I hated that sweater. I didn't even fight my mother to wear that because I just didn't care at that moment. That was the least favorite sweater I had in my wardrobe. And she made me wear that for picture day. And I didn't fight her on it because I was like, I just didn't care. You know, most girls want their hair pretty and bows. I didn't want nothing because that's just how I felt. This man, when I say I was in so much pain, my private part hurt so bad and I had no idea what was going on with it. And so when we finally moved from there, I was in 4th grade at the time, and I felt like I could tell my mother, I should tell her at that point, but I could never bring myself to tell her. And I just went on with it. I just went on and tried to make the best of what I could at that point moving forward. And, years later in 2000, after years of that, and then having experienced something else at 16 from someone who preyed on my mother as a single mother, preyed, put on the front like he really cared about my mother and her children, and chose me to be the back again at that 8-year-old, thought, why am I the one always having to go to the store? So here it is, this man pulled me out of all my siblings and asked me to babysit his children and take care of his children and tutor and do different things. And the same exact thing happened again at 16. And at that point, and then it wasn't as bad as 8 years old, but nonetheless, it was still a violation of me. But at that point, before then, I hadn't really had a lot of knowledge on what to do, because the church, let's keep it real, the church wasn't teaching nothing. The school was very limited in what they could say without facing backlash from parents or a lawsuit. Health class was next to nothing. So who do you talk to? Where are you going to get educated about this stuff? So after the incident happened at 16, I was vocal. I told. He told me again, don't say anything. This is our secret. And I was like, oh no, I didn't want to cause a stir, because it was just him and I at that point. We were in a dark area, secluded. And I didn't want to start anything for fear that he could become aggressive and try to do something to harm me. So I was like, oh no. And as soon as I was able to get free, I told my mother, I told a lot of people, I'll just say that. And some were supportive, some weren't so supportive. And so, but it was in that moment. So after 16, at age about 4 years later, when I, started to become into my own, when I did that play, Slow Rain, and I had to reenact the 7-year-old getting abused and I did the play, I did that monologue. I did it, and people came and told me how much it affected them. And, but on the inside, I reverted back to that 8-year-old girl in that bathroom in the pain. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I can't, because I was going to have a mental breakdown if I felt like that's the path I was on. Right. And that's why I was like, I got to get out of here. Let me put my focus into something else, which was my signing. And as you stated, I went away to Catonsville College in Maryland. They specialized in sign language. And I was like, you know what? I did praise dancing back in the day when it wasn't so popular, but I incorporated sign language with it as a way of expressing myself. And when I got to Catonsville, I was coming up on completing my certificate, and a young woman signed to me in sign language what had happened to her as a 10-year-old from her father. And I was like, you have got in sign, and I'm a little rusty, but she signed during that time. I picked it up, and I could really sign, but she signed to me the pain that she went through from her father at 10 years old. And as soon as I finished there, I said, I got to get back. I got a lot to do. And I found the strength to it didn't happen without me going through something. I had a breakdown, and that's when I started blaming people for not being there for me and not protecting me. And these people were very close to me, and that's part of it. That's part of the process. That's part of the grieving. That's part of the healing process. Everybody got it. But then you come to a point where you're like, okay, you're going to let this take over you, validate the rest of or dictate the rest of your life, or you can wallow in it. You can do something about it. And so I chose, and it didn't come easy. It didn't. I'd be lying if I said, oh yeah, no, because I still have moments. If I see a situation, there are a lot of triggers that, you know, sometimes I put myself back in the situation where I'm around. I do a lot of training with the Children's Advocacy Center of Chicago. I do volunteering with the Zachariah Center, the Sexual Abuse Center in Gurnee, and I spent time training with them. And so they're the triggers, the things that come up that I have to say, I have to excuse myself right now, because especially when it's dealing with a child and you hear stories after stories of children in my situation at 8 years old getting their insides ripped out of them by a 25-year-old man. And so
Ooh.
I said, I have to do something about this. So I immersed myself into the work. I get into the school systems under the guise of whatever, but I'm really in there trying to see what is going on, because there are a lot of hurting children. And I went back to school. I was able to go back, finish an undergrad in case management and child welfare services. And so I got myself immersed in a social service agency where I have been able to help counsel children that have been victims of sexual abuse. And these kids are taken away from their parents, right? So the other side of that is too, you know, if a parent can get themselves together, because I believe children need to be with their parents, but that's only if the parents who have victimized their children, or a mother who has seen it and didn't do anything about it, right? Because these children, we know how the foster care system works. It's not set up for reunification for families. And so the Lord really had to show me that I'm in a position to really help or speak to parents if they want to get their children back, you know, the things that they have to do, because children, unfortunately for me, I had to self-help myself. There was no therapy. There was nothing for me at 8 years old. There was nothing for me at 16. And as I alluded to before, the church doesn't encourage this. That's why I spent all my time in church. I spent all my time in church hurting, shriveling up like a prune.
Jesus.
All the time, just going out of routine. And we got to do better. We have to. In these spaces where children are a lot, families are,
Yeah.
Black families are in church a lot. They're a lot, and they're in school as well. And we have to utilize these spaces to really talk about this, because you think COVID is a pandemic. This is a pandemic.
Amen.
This is a pandemic.
You know, Mechelle, I'm gonna ask you a couple of things. You've taken us all in. And I do want you to know that they're on here. They're on here and they're watching here on Facebook Live. And I do recognize some of your comments, and it lets me know that some of you either have experienced it yourself or you know someone. I saw Alyssa's comment when you were talking earlier about when he told you this is between us, up to the situation. He said, keep it between us. And her question was, do they all say that? Because that's what they told her also, what she experienced. She put all this in the comment section, so I'm not telling anything that she doesn't want to share.
You know what, before you go on with the other comments, Annette, can I just reiterate something that you said earlier? Mechelle, I need you to know that you are absolutely phenomenal. You are a true heroine. You are a beautiful Black queen. I mean, just having gone through all of that and to be strong enough and have the courage enough to not only share your story, but to try to prevent this same thing from happening to young little girls. The fact that you can recognize, you know, when something is amiss. I mean, girl, I love you. You need to know that. I'm so in awe. And I mean, this is a horrible thing for you to have gone through. But girl, I'm just so in awe of your courage. And I need you to know that you are such an inspiration. Please know that.
Thank you, my sister. I appreciate that. Thank you.
That was a beautiful comment. I totally agree. I totally agree. Because you know what? What could have happened? It could have been flipped. You could have become an abuser.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
you chose to, because of that heart,
Thank you.
you chose to, try to do what you could to change that narrative, eradicate that behavior.
Right.
This is what you're doing now. I got to get to you guys because I do encourage you to come on in. And Victoria Jones DeVoe says, I'm so sorry you had to endure this experience, Mechelle. I identify with you as having a sister girl experience. Brandy had a question for you. She says, when you told your mother, did you tell her about all of the abuse? And was she at all struck with guilt for never protecting?
That's a great question. I didn't, after this, when I was 16, after that incident happened, I told my mother. I didn't tell her about what happened to me at 8 until I was 20, because that's when everything came down on me. But she said she was sorry. She asked me to forgive her. I thought that was really important, recognizing that this did happen, because you have cases where some kids aren't that fortunate to have the trusted adult tell them that they're sorry for not protecting them. When I was 16, she sprung right into action. I mean, she did everything that I felt a mother should have done to let their child know that I'm going to protect you until no ends. And that's exactly what she did. I think there are times too where maybe the guilt did come over her, and maybe she compensated, right? Or overcompensated for things like, taking care of my children when she really didn't feel like being grandma at that moment, or, and I noticed that, and I said, hey, I couldn't really do anything about that. That was her, right? She felt that way. And if that's what gonna make her feel better about whatever she couldn't do, then so be it. But I do believe a lot of parents go through that guilt. But I think the most important thing is parents recognizing and apologizing to their children for whatever that they went through that they couldn't control. So
beautiful. And your mother, God rest her soul,
yes.
was a beautiful woman of God. And I think also, I look at that as being a positive and a plus for her to say, I'm sorry. When I put the post out about today's show, remember I was telling you I was getting inboxes,
Right.
individuals sending me video and saying this topic is so on point. One video that was sent to me showed this. It was really a reenactment, but it was based off of a true story, where this young girl was telling her mother how the mother's boyfriend came in and violated her. Now, in this particular vid, it was saying, again, he came in my room again. And the mother, she's like cleaning up the kitchen. So they didn't really show the camera on the faces of the people. She was cleaning up the kitchen. And so the mother got us, what do you mean came in your room? What did you do to make him come in there? What did you do to make him do this? So she was basically turning everything back on the daughter. And so the daughter, at the end of the video, she's like, I'm done. I'm going to get out of here. I'm leaving. So she didn't have that protection, from her mother, even, while it was still going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can only imagine what your mother would have done if she had known at that time.
Right.
But yeah, I thank God that, she apologized to you and came to the realization, oh my God, my baby, I could have been or should have been there to protect her. But single parents, I get it. You started off by saying that's
right. She had to do what she had to do, and that's what I had to just settle in my heart. She wasn't putting me intentionally in harm's way, right. And that's the difference. She was doing what she had to do. She had to take care of 4 babies. We were small, 10, 8, 7, and my baby brother was probably 2 at the time. So she had to do what she had to do. And I think in my mind too, had I said something that would have just disrupted everything. She would have had to find another job perhaps, or not even have us at the childcare. Well, not have us at the childcare and then try to find other childcare, which could have impeded on her job, her employment. And so, but having the support there, that means the world. Is because it's almost like, okay, I'll take one for the team. I took one for the team, I took one for the team, but she supported me, she acknowledged, and so it validated me that, while she was sorry this happened, but it still felt a sense of validation for me. Yeah. That she knew she would have protected me had she known at that time.
Yeah, I believe she would have.
Oh yeah.
What I knew about her, yeah, she would have, definitely. I see you, Wendy, Marcus, Kmetris Hunt. I'm so glad you on. Unfortunately, Kmetris has come on my show and she shared her times of being molested when she was a child as well. And she did put a comment in here, and I'm paraphrasing before I get back down to it, is that she says, Mechelle, it takes so much courage to tell your story. I personally want to thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And Kmetris also has a book out as well, talking about this very thing. And please put the name of your book in the comment section for me. I would love for you to do that. Buddy says, Mechelle, I thank God that you survived that ordeal. And I admire you for your courage in sharing this experience. As a father and a brother, as a man, I'm sickened. Yeah. Thanks for that comment, buddy.
Thank you, buddy.
My niece is on. Thank you so much for watching, Monique. Valencia says, Mechelle, I'm listening and supporting you. Beautiful. Thank you, Valencia. Let's see. I mentioned earlier about Alyssa saying, do they all use that line? And then she also mentioned that her next comment was, he also told me that my parents would be mad at me. Yeah. She was only 3 years old at the time. Dion is on. Thanks for watching, Pastor James Anthony. We appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Brandy says, it's hard for me to hear stories like this because I want to murder. Mm-hmm. It brings all kind of emotions out. It does.
It does. And Annette, having to, because these two people I have seen since that time.
Oh my goodness.
Since my time. When I came back from Maryland, I went back to the area. I parked my car, and because I hadn't been over that way since I was 8. And so this was maybe 15 years had passed. And I remember getting out of my car and just kind of walking around and looking at the house. And I don't remember crying. I think it was just a heaviness, a weepiness inside of me. And so I remember walking down the block, and the perpetrator was there. He was standing at the block, and he looked at me, and I remember him saying to me, "You're older now." That's all I remember him saying. And he said some other stuff, but what I remember was he looked at me in this disgusting, savage way and said, "You're older now." And I looked back at him, and I just put my head down, and I got back in my car, and I got out of there so quick because I was starting to feel something else, and I was feeling a little fearful at that time. But yeah, I needed that part though. Like I didn't know that other part. I didn't know seeing him that shook me. But I needed to go back there because I thought for some reason there would be some closure that I could find. I could identify some things, but none of that happened. And I'm not going to say I wouldn't recommend people to do that. You have to do what's good for you, but that didn't work for me at all. It just made me more upset. Okay. It made me more upset at that time. So,
yeah. Yeah. I could see it as you going back trying to get some closure. I could see the reason why you actually did that. All right, Gwen, I have more names to read, but I want to check with you first to see if you want to ask anything else or share something with Mechelle
Well, you know what, Mechelle, now you did mention, and I'm a testament to that. I grew up in church. These are just subjects that are taboo. These are subjects that don't come up. And I think for the most part, and I'm not marginalizing or blaming the ancestors, so to speak, because it is generational. But a lot of times, because of the climate and because of who we are as a culture and a community, a lot of the advice was to not make waves.
Right.
Because they felt that, that was the only way to survive, honestly speaking, is to, put your head in the sand.
Right.
Or, the flip side of that, spiritually speaking, if you talk about that, or if you say something like that has happened, then that's a stain on that family, because you're supposed to be saved. You're supposed to be spiritual. You're supposed to believe God. And, you don't want anybody questioning, well, if you believe God and you go to church all the time, why did this happen to her?
Right.
So there are all sorts of things that, come about. Now, I know you were saying you did your own therapy. Did you ever seek any professional therapy outside of the spiritual aspect, to kind of deal with your pain?
Yeah, I did. I did. I saw it when a dear mother told me, because before then, like you said, it was just everything's just taboo in church. It's just so taboo, man. That's a whole nother subject. But when I heard someone say, someone I looked up to, I reverenced, when I heard her say, she told her children, prayer is good, but you need professional help. When she told her 2 children that, man, I called up, I did my research, I found me a good counselor.
Beautiful.
Someone that I could break down, that could help me chisel down this wall that I had built up at that time, because I knew if I were to bring children into this world, I'd be a mess. And I didn't want to do that if I didn't have these things. Not saying they all went away, because they're still prevalent now. And it's, that's another issue. But seeking that, I recommend people to do, I don't care what your background is, what national, how much taboo, we need professional help when these
Amen.
when we endure trauma like this and crises, we need professional help. Prayer, that's my foundation. That's all I knew was prayer. My mother did it, her parents did it. I have a husband that covers me in prayer. I do it with my children, but I needed professional help. And to incorporate those 2 together, I mean, that's a great recipe right there.
I
and
agree.
If you had a Christian counselor, mine wasn't. The first one wasn't, and it was okay. It was okay.
Can you say that again?
It didn't matter if it was a Christian counselor or not. It just didn't matter. It didn't matter. I needed someone who studied the stuff that could give me the tools I needed to help me get through this. And
absolutely.
And the second one was a professional. She was a Christian counselor, because that's where I wanted to see what the Bible said. How can I incorporate this while I'm reading my Bible? How can I pray over myself that I've dealt with using the tools that they gave me, plus the Word of God? I mean,
there you go.
I wanted to get myself together. So, but I wouldn't say, you have to be exclusively a Christian counselor. I mean, it helps if that's what if that's what you want.
Right. But then that should not be what stops you. So if it's not a Christian counselor, because, we still need help. Right. And, my pastor used to always say, first naturally, then spiritually. So did Pastor Hinton.
Right.
So because we have to live here, we have to be in this world. I'm not discounting Christian counselors. As a matter of fact, I push them. I wish there were more of them.
Right.
But for me, that doesn't mean that you don't get counseling, because so many of us need help in the natural sense. So.
We do.
Well, listen, over here in my watch party, Angela Johnson, my dear sister, you are just having a good old time all by yourself over here. She says, we got to help the church figure it out. And she says, this is the reason why I'm an advocate for girls. I watch emotions. I watch movements. I watch and I ask questions. She said her granddaughter's mom allows her to do that. Also, she says this happens more, and it's not mom's boyfriend coming in. If it's not mom's boyfriend coming in, a stepdad violation. And she said, please, please have the talks and never love a guy more than your ability to hear the voice of God. She also says, oh, thank you, Angela. Thanks for that comment. Her last comment here says, correct, as a pastor, because she is a pastor, we're still looking for ways, but it's the Annets in this show, it's the strength and confidence that God will give that gives us how to talk about it. I was a talker, so when older gentlemen would come at me or my sisters, I would tell my dad, but I wonder what would happen if she didn't.
Wow. And that's something to think about, honestly speaking. Mechelle, you talked a little bit about that, but you talked about how people would say, well, why didn't you say anything? Right. Why didn't you? You're talking about an 8-year-old child. Now, sometimes we think and we respond to stuff today in our adult experience, which we don't have at 8. Not to mention, especially in the church, we're taught to respect our elders. And as quiet as it's kept, a lot of that stuff is going on in the church. So there's a conflict there as a child. Right. You're taught to respect somebody who's older, but then what is happening to you doesn't feel right. And then you're wondering if you should tell somebody, because then you're wondering then how they're going to look at you. Exactly. Because, the sexual part of it, we're told, okay, that don't let anybody touch that. But if it happens, then I'm sure you're feeling guilty. You know what I mean? So you've got all of that conflict that you have to deal with. So people shouldn't blame children for not being able to speak up and speak out.
Because we really need to, yes. As I alluded to, we're in church a lot, and we really need to take advantage of those spaces. I was listening to Moody's today, and they had a guest on who shut down everything that was going on in their traditional church services and had a service of just regrouping. Whether you are a drug addict, whether you are a victim of sexual, you were able to come during that time. They had counselors on a Sunday morning.
Wow.
It was like a fair. It was like a job fair. I have a drug addiction. I'm going to see that counselor. I'm going to see how I can, and they gave their services for free. That's what we need. Outside of the box right there, right? On a Sunday morning, forget the choir singing, forget everything. Let's have a hurting fair. Let's have people come out, the professionals come out, identify where your issue is, and go right to that person.
That's true mission work.
You know what I mean? It is. I thought that was phenomenal. I mean, just think about the trailblazing of this, right? The doors that would be open.
Yes.
Not only are you getting people naturally together, you're getting them spiritually together too.
Amen.
Responsibility. That is our responsibility. And I know God is holding us accountable for all of this. He is. He's holding our leaders accountable. But it takes all of us, because the leaders don't know everything.
Right.
So it takes people to bring these ideas and things to them. So
and
they have to be open to that.
They have to be open. We pray that they're open to it.
Yes.
Yes, Gwen. That's a whole nother thing. We pray that they're open.
Yes, for sure. That's a feat in all of itself. Jim Fenton, Chris King, we see you. There were some other, I want to scroll down. I think I mentioned Marcus and Lewis Adams. Thanks for watching. We do appreciate all of you. And again, if you haven't shared, please go ahead and share. This is a sensitive topic today. We're talking with Mechelle Hollins Casey, and she's an advocate now. Unfortunately, she was molested at the age of 8 years old. And she shared that experience with us here on today. And so we're talking about an 8-year-old soul, child molestation on today. That is today's topic. And we have been fully going in it for the past hour or so. Leslie, I see you on. Thanks for watching. Adrian, I appreciate you. Let's see, did I read this? Chris King says, this breaks my heart. I truly appreciate your transparency of your truth, sending love and hugs. Avis Dudley, thank you. Lewis says, this is a great story. There's a lot of sick people out here. Very true. Arnett Judan is on. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. Monique says, this is extremely sad. My heart goes out to you. And Sandra Richardson is on. Thanks for watching. I'm just saying, Chevelle Cole. Valencia says, Mechelle, I feel you've been there before. Tyrone Christopher is on. Oh, Auntie San said this is happening to boys, and Buddy says, yes, he agrees. This is happening to young boys and men as well, which is very true.
Yes.
Leslie says, some kids, now adults, still keep the horrible secrets of the abuse in the family. Brandy says, you were way too young to have had the world on your shoulders. To feel like you had to bear such pain in order to keep your family's world from falling apart. You said a word there, Brandy, and
She did.
Yeah.
I just got chills when she said that, because I didn't think about it in those terms. But looking back, retrospect, yeah. I did.
And it was almost like you weren't trying to make waves, you weren't trying to bring attention to it, because like you said, your mom would have had to pick up and, move or whatever, change jobs. And, you again thinking you're probably concerned about her, single parent having to go out and work, and
because my mother was very vocal about, and I find myself being the same way with my children. If we're in a struggle, we're all in this together. Now, there were a lot of things she kept from us, because you don't want to put too much on children as they're developing. But when you're in a struggle as a family, it's all hands on deck. And I know I'm like that with my own children. If we're all in this together. And I think just with the limited amount of information she told us growing up about, sometimes we didn't have food. We went to bed hungry, or she would sacrifice giving us food. She wouldn't eat just so we went to sleep on a full stomach. So hearing those types of things, I think just in my mind, I couldn't articulate it the way now, but I don't want to be an extra burden to my mom. I don't want to see her fuss, or I don't want to see her having to take on more with my issues, And so, but that's an excellent point. Excellent point.
Absolutely.
I agree. Oh, thanks, Kmetris, for putting this in here. She said, thank you, Annette. The name of my book is Screaming from the Inside. Her book. It is available on Amazon. And she says, Mechelle, she wants to send you a copy.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Margaret Epps, thank you for that, Kmetris. Bruce Jackson is on. And Victoria says, very, very true, prayer and seek professional counseling. It's not taught to us in the Black community or churches. Michelle Miller, thanks for watching. Donna Smith. Let's see, Buddy said, it's sad that even in this day, professional counseling is still somehow frowned upon, or the last thing we think of in assistance to those who could benefit from it. It is sad, Buddy. Unfortunately, it's been ingrained in so many of our minds that that's not something in our community. That's not something we do. I'm not crazy. What I need to go and get, counseling for, or what have you. But oh my God, you don't realize how much therapy could really help. I think it was on my show last week. I was talking about with therapy. I mean, just peel back so many layers, layers of things that you've probably forgotten about, but then it will also answer, the questions of why you're acting a certain way.
You are, right.
Your behavior. You can really kind of find out where a lot of that comes from.
Exactly.
I want to segue into asking you, I know my sister asked you about therapy, but I want to know what changes did you recognize in yourself, your behavior, whether it was school or with your own siblings or with your own mom after this unfortunate incident, began happening to you? What did you notice of changes?
I know behavior. My behavior from 5th grade, probably up until 8th grade, it wasn't the best at all. It wasn't. I didn't do well in school. I hated school. I liked it from 4th and 5th grade, But after that, I don't even know if it was all of it. I had to repeat 5th grade. Who repeats 5th grade? I repeated 5th grade. I had to stay back another year. I couldn't get it together at all. I shut down after 4th grade, shut completely down. Behavior from that, because it was so terrifying having to repeat, because, you know, during those days, you had like a cohort, you had 4th and 5th grade combined together. So I was in the first set of 4th and 5th graders. Then those 5th graders went off to middle school. I had to come back with the 4th graders that were already there. That was embarrassing, you know, but I didn't do well that first year at all. I didn't do any homework. I lied probably about everything. So my behavior, and I tried to get it together for 6th grade, kind of got it together, but 7th and 8th grade, 8th grade, I think that's kind of when the light bulb went off, but then it shot back down again freshman, sophomore year. Horrible. I was a horrible student. I ditched, I everything you could think of. I wasn't promiscuous, thank God, because usually that's what happens. You know, you become promiscuous, and I didn't do that because I didn't want nobody touching my body. I didn't want nobody looking at my body.
I'm sure.
Flat-chested, I had nothing to even entice anybody, you know, so at that age, but I didn't want nobody looking at my body. I didn't want to talk to boys. I didn't do any of those typical things that could happen to girls that have gone through this. And so, but it wasn't until like junior year in high school when, unfortunately, academically it was a little too late I still got it together, but as far as I had to do night school, I had to do day and night school. I had to do a dual enrollment to get out of high school.
Wow.
Because of freshman, sophomore year having messed up so bad, I had to do a dual enrollment, and then I graduated late too. And so that was a consequence of it. But it was because of all that I had gone through.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I related to that. And so, you know, and then that's why it stated too, you know, going like after high school, I was like, there's no way I'm going to nobody's college for nothing, because it wasn't for me at all. Like, so I'm going to put this energy into something else, which was acting, which, you know, there were things brought out of me during that time. And acting is like it's like a bubble. You can let these things happen to you without really people peeking inside of, but that was all me, like really, real talk. All the stuff that I had did in acting, a lot of that was me, whether it was, you know, portraying a little girl, broken relationships, broken friendships. There were things I had to do with that during my acting time. And that was another thing too. I really couldn't maintain friendships during that time. And I couldn't understand why. And it wasn't until later where I realized, you know, resolution conflict, that was hard for me. And I'm sure I had something from that time attributed to that. I didn't have the tools to ensure, what's the word I'm looking for? To resolve conflict. That's what I'm looking for. I didn't have the tools to do that. And so I think a part of me, when you go through some trauma like that, parts of you just shuts down. Lots of parts of you shuts down, your rational parts in time. And so to even want to try to figure out how to resolve a conflict, it wasn't important to me. So I lost a lot of friendships during that time as well. But so yeah, to your point, yeah, behavior, academia, out the window. It just wasn't for me at that time at all. And the behavior at home too. I started giving my mother trouble, which I was, you know, looking back on, I think she kind of knew that was the reason why. Maybe when I was in my 20s, my mid 20s, she realized that trauma had a lot to do with my behavior and my desire to like not be in school and things like that. So, yep, that's all part of it, ANet.
Yeah, I can see it, you know, trickling, and it was sparked obviously by that.
Right.
So thank you for answering that question. Angela's asked a question here. She says, so Mechelle, what would you tell your 8-year-old self today? She said, because she wants to know, because she wants to know what to tell 8-year-olds today. What would you tell your 8-year-old self?
I would I would tell myself, obviously it's not my fault. It was not my fault. Nothing I did, was nothing I did, nothing I said, nothing I wore, my pigtails hanging out. None of that was my fault as to why that happened to me. What I am most vocal about with my own children, I make them aware. And I wish that was something that had happened to me, or I wish that was something someone would have told me, just to be aware, to be aware of these types of things, explaining to me that these things could happen to you and what you should do if these things happen to you. So yeah, looking back, I would just reaffirm to myself that it wasn't my fault. None of that stuff happened was my fault. And there's some peace that comes over that. Even now, just saying it, there's still a sense of peace that comes over me. It was not my fault at all.
And it was not. Gwen, before I read others, did you have other questions? I have other comments here.
You know what? I actually, it's kind of related to the question that you just asked, ANet, not necessarily about your 8-year-old self, but you mentioned earlier how you can pretty much sense when a child is possibly being molested or abused.
Yeah.
If you are around, let's say, a member of the church, maybe a new member, and you notice behaviors in that particular child, I mean, how are you, I guess, empowered to approach that parent? Have you ever done something like that? And what did you say?
I didn't do it at church. I did it at school. I haven't seen it at church. I guess suppose if I did see it at church, you just have to be very careful. Oh my gosh, you have to be really, I feel like in school, I can disguise it as something else, talking to a child, because children come to school with all types of issues. They come, they're hungry. Being hungry results in not doing work or behavior problems. So you can and then you can talk to the child too and ask them, hey, what's going on? How was your night? Who are you at home with? You can be a little intrusive depending on your role. But when you're in school, you're a mandated reporter. So when kids bring stuff to you, you have to say something. But I think a very wise person, a teacher, educator, whomever you are, if you see a child that's hurting, you have to know how to do it. Because, if a child's hurting right off the bat, they're not going to talk to you. You have to build trust. You got to build relationship. And I found that in school, I can do that. I can do that a lot more. In church, I've never had it, because I feel like in church, when we all come to church, there's always a facade when families come to church,
Yeah.
right? It's like this perfect life, like nobody's having problems, and it's just not good. So I try, unless a child comes to me specifically and says something, I see it in adults, but we put on this facade at church that I'm not saying nothing because I just, but in school, children are more vulnerable. They're very vulnerable, and you can take a child out. I was a paraprofessional for a while. And if I saw a child that I was working with, just not focused, distracted, I would tell the teacher, you know what, I'm going to take them out for a while. I'm going to take them to get water. Most times I would take them to my little stash where I had popcorn or chip, something to kind of get them going. And then that's how you can kind of start breaking down, like, what's going on? What's going on right now? And you'd get a plethora of things or issues. So that's kind of how I've been in that situation. I've had to call DCFS. I've had to call the parent about things that I noticed, language a child was using, about sexual language, or playing video games, and certain things that will come out of that. So I have been in that position, and I think, like I said, it's about building relationships with children, because they're not going to be so readily willing, I should say, to tell you what's going on with them unless there has been a relationship built. I think it's easier to do it in the school. than it is at church. And I'll say this too with church. Nobody wants their business out there in church at all. Nobody. You know, it's just like this perfect life. I'm like, are you all serious? It's not, you know, nobody wants their business out in church. My husband and I had did children's church for a while at the church we were attending. And, you know, while our position down there with those children during those 2 hours is to be an extension of their family, so to speak, right? I didn't say nothing to any child about nothing unless they were being disruptive, but I was very careful in even the curriculum that I had, because just from experience or historical, when certain things you would bring in from a secular position and you want to incorporate it, it was frowned upon. It was frowned upon. So I decided, you know what, I'm not going to use this space here to do this, because
Which is really,
yes,
it's really sad, actually. And because you can see so much now, even in the school setting where you notice something and you're trying to gain that trust of that child, how do you convince that child that you are legitimate or on the up and up, and you're just not trying to groom them,
right,
just like their abuser did?
right. You have to start, and that's a good point, Gwen. That's why I say building an honest relationship. You have to show your vulnerability too. You have to. You got to break this all down. You got to come at their level. You have to share stories with them, and you have to be consistent. That's the thing. You have to, this just fly by night, this one-time thing, and then you're gone. You know, a child's going to feel abandoned by that. So you have, what I've learned, you have to build relationship. You have to become vulnerable. You have to become bare, because kids are going to ask all types of questions. I mean, sometimes I would brace myself, like, I don't know what they're going to ask, but I'm going to give them the best appropriate answer, and the honest answer too, because that's another thing. They want honesty too, and consistency. So that's how, and I want to be more, I want to be like this in church. I want to be like this, but I find it's a struggle. I'm just being so real right now. It is such a struggle to do this in church with the brethren and the sisterin. It is.
And it should not be.
It shouldn't.
Kmetris made a comment. She says, yes, it is very difficult to talk about any form of abuse in the church. It's so needed. And I agree with that. Mechelle, I'll let you know your friend has arrived, Walter Jones. He says, I so love Mechelle, Mimi. She's such an amazing soul, full of life and compassion. And her husband is is in competition with Buddy as his best friend.
You can have two best friends.
Yeah, you can. I thought you were giving a really nice, you just had to end it with something there. But that's Walter. We gotta love him, right? Well, that's what the Bible said. That's what the Bible said. Listen, there's some Alyssa, your comment, I wanted to get to this. She says, I don't know that I've had the relationship with my mom today if I hadn't gone through intense therapy. When you're young, you do feel that your parents are supposed to protect you. And I had a lot of buried resentment that I needed to work through with professional help. Thank you, Alyssa, for saying that. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Because I'm telling you, some people need that therapy and that professional help. They either don't realize it or they don't want to own up to it.
Right.
And so then they continue on these horrible cycles. And Jonathan, you got a song, Cycles, keep you going in cycles. And you need to get off that wheel, if you will, and because, sorry, I said wheel twice, but you need to get off of that, and then you have to think about how is this going to, and I'm so glad that you decided that therapy was what you needed, because you knew that one day you wanted to get married. You knew that one day you wanted to have children, and you didn't want this to continue on, these curses, if you will. And you want it better for your own.
Exactly.
When you started this therapy, did it help you in what you were seeking? So that did your therapy help you to be able to be a good wife one day, or, knowing how to parent? Because all of that, still ties into, your situation that happened to you. Yes, you knew. I asked about behavior. You talked about what happened in school, but it was going to continue on. It was
Right.
going to continue on if you did not get, the therapy and the help you needed.
Right.
So did it help you?
I think by the time I went to there, well, yeah, when I started, I had bitterness. I had bitterness in my heart. I wouldn't say it was just like out for men or, but I just had bitterness, and and I've never been the type to like lash out at people, but because I kept it inside, I suppressed all of that, my hurt, my anger. But once I started with it, I noticed that I was able to, like Walter said, have that compassion once I started with the therapy, because what they told me, as I had said earlier, that it wasn't my fault. And most times we need that validation. That first thing, we need the validation and someone telling us that it's not our fault. And so then you begin to understand, okay, it wasn't my fault. And then they taught me how to have compassion, because I went through, even after being married, there were sometimes things came up where I thought it was because of what was going on in the past. And that's the real honest truth. When things don't, and during this therapy time, this was really the first time I had addressed anything with the professional. So, if you go to a therapist, you're bringing up everything that has happened to you over the course of your life. And there was a spot in the marriage where I was just like, something's off a little bit. Something's off. It's my reaction. It's my whatever it may be. So when I went back to seek and I started chiseling down other things, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. I get it, because there was another layer of something that was there that I had no idea that was there. And so, but yeah, it helped to cultivate my healthy relationships in my home, like with my husband, and even with my children. Not that it was a bad relationship, but I was like mama bear all the time, like crazy. Like anytime anyone decided to wanted to go sleepovers, oh, absolutely not. No, there was never, no sleepovers. Even just going outside, most of the who's out there. I had to get help for that too, because it was crazy. It was crazy. Or they would go somewhere, even at church. I wouldn't let my children go to the bathroom by themselves at church. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
And you shouldn't.
Amen. You can't.
Mommy, I'm 12. I don't care. I'm going with you. Or I send them in buddies, like never. And it became excessive though. That's why I had to go back to the counselor, because I just didn't know how to separate. I couldn't talk myself down from that, because I felt I was doing what I had to do to protect my children. And all of it wasn't healthy though. So that's why I had to go back and kind of get help talking down from that, because I've realized if I educate my children enough, I make them aware enough, they won't, something could happen, but they'll know to come and talk to an adult, a trusted adult, which is their parents, right? Or even if they're in a space where we're not there, because we teach our children, teachers are to be trusted, and anyone that works in the school system or a church is to be trusted. Prayerfully, they will find somebody that they can reach out to, and that person will be able to help them. So I sought help for that, ANet, and I came back down and, trying to have a healthier perspective on this, because it can overtake you with emotion. It can really overtake you to the point where you're not thinking logically at all about anything. And
Right.
you're getting your children, you're getting anyone that you're in a good, healthy relationship with, it's getting them concerned. And that's the last thing I want to do, make this such a big monster type of situation. It's bad. The act is very bad. But if you have the tools to deal with it, and part of my tools is what I use is making my children aware and making any child in my space, any child, I'll tell anybody, if your child is in my space, they're gonna leave from me knowing something about how to educate themselves and making them aware of what's going on. So.
Love it. I love it.
Yes.
That was a great response to that question. Thank you. I'm going to do this on the heels of that question. I received a message. It's an anonymous. It's from someone. They didn't want to disclose their name, but I'm going to throw this question out. What do you do if it's the parents that are doing the abuse? Now, I'm asking you this question because you're an advocate now.
Right.
And you advocate for children, and you're concerned and care is for them. So could you answer that question? What do you do in situations like that when it's the parent that's actually doing the abusing or molesting?
Yeah, that's so tough, as I just said, because parents are the trusted ones. I would go back to, schools being a safe place, churches being our safe places. I know there have been times where, I have told my children, just being raw with them, if anybody ever does anything, if mommy or daddy does something to you, I've said that. If mommy or daddy does something to you, these are the people at school, people at church, your extended family, your aunts, your grandmother. Those are people, because somebody's gonna listen, right? We pray somebody is gonna listen to this child, right? If they're being violated by a parent, somebody is gonna listen. And so that's exactly what I would say in that. It's exactly what I would tell a child, tell an adult, because somebody has to listen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. And then, so obviously you would have to have those individuals set up, like you said, these are certain people you can go to,
right?
At school, at church, or what have you.
Identifying the safe people. That's one thing I did when I went to talk to a school, a high school. I had to use that term, identifying safe people, because like you said, mom and dad, they could be doing it too. So you have to identify those people, those safe people in other spaces in your life.
Yeah. Okay. Auntie Ida, I see you on. Thanks for watching. Let's see. Buddy says, I gotta say this, Mechelle being on this show, sharing her story has put her in my top 5 faves as a guest on Mind, Body, and Soul. Me too. Says that God will bless and open doors for her telling the truth. Let's see here. I see you, Zoriante Brown. Thanks for watching. I tried to tag educators and I tried to tag, as many parents as I knew, because this is definitely, something that they need to hear about as well. Things are happening, unfortunately, a lot of times right underneath the noses of parents and teachers or what have you. And this is some things that they need to be aware of and watch out for. I see you on, Natasha Miles. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you as well. Let's see. Comments. Zoriante says some may have been told by parents that they don't disclose any information outside of the house. Whoa, okay. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
What would you advise as an advocate? What would you say to that then?
I would start off with the child, telling them about their body, their personal space, because that's what we do when I go into 2nd and 3rd grade classrooms. That's how I have to approach that with them. This is your body. Nobody is supposed to touch your body, or harm your body or bring any type of anything to your body, because this is your body. And anytime you feel unsafe with someone doing something with your body, you have to say something. And then you give examples on, we bring up moms, we bring up dads, we bring up aunts and uncles, we bring up the whole gamut. And I think just reiterating that, because it's unfortunate, and that, let's just be real, you have kids that are not talking. You do. Can we eradicate this problem? No, we can't eradicate it. The only thing we can do is educate. That's it, and bring awareness to it. We can't, it's not gonna go away. It's been here. Unfortunately, it's gonna be here, but we have to do What we have to do is educate children. And someone had mentioned earlier about it happens to boys, and I didn't mean to minimize boys. It happens to boys just as much as it happens to girls. Yeah. But we just have to teach children about their bodies. Their bodies are theirs. Their bodies are safe, should be safe. Their body, no one ever has any permission, should be touching them in any way without their permission. And if someone's doing something to you that's making you feel uncomfortable, you have to say something.
Amen.
And that's, I mean, and I wish I had this just magic ball that I could just touch and the answers will just appear in the most profound, but I don't. And it does hurt my heart that I don't have that. And the only thing I can say is just teaching our children. That's one thing I have to stress to parents. It's uncomfortable. I'm telling you, the first time I had to do it, I was very uncomfortable, but I did it. I made some big theatrical performance and I was like, that's whack. No, because life is not, I had to be serious because I had to do that for my own comfort, you know. And this was years ago when they were little, but now, because I have older children now that I need to be just straight on the money with at all times. No more theatrical stuff. I have to just be, hey, you have body parts, right? They're getting big and they're spreading. And you need to be aware of that. Your body looks great. I love it. I don't want you to ever feel like, you know, your little boom booms are getting bigger than mine. Don't be ashamed of it. But what I do want you to be aware of, if anybody ever comes and touches you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable because of your boom booms and your bottom, you have to say something. Mommy is here for you and I want you to tell me or your dad, and we've identified all the trusted people in our family too. And even at school, we've identified, and it's pretty much everybody until you do something to show me otherwise, right? So it's everybody. Everybody's a trusted person until you do something to show me otherwise. And so, yeah.
Wow, this is very sound, actually. And I'm so glad you talked about telling your children that their bodies are beautiful. Mm-hmm. That's another thing I don't think we do enough of, whether it is as a culture or if it is spiritually. We cannot be ashamed of this, because then the minute we tell our children, oh, you know, oh my God, you know, cover up, you know, even if it's just you and that child or whatever, we make them feel a certain way about their bodies. So then when they're groomed by an abuser and all of that stuff is done in secret, a lot of times you're not going to get those children to be able to talk about or say anything, because they're already feeling some kind of way about their bodies. Exactly. But if we tell, you know, our children that God made our bodies and that we are beautiful and everything about them is beautiful, then you empower them with like my mother used to tell us, I'm sorry, please forgive me, our cats were gold. Mm-hmm. And we treated it as such. And that whoever that was trying to get it, especially when we went away to school, if he really loved you, he would be there when you're done. Mm-hmm. So we were told to, you know, treat it like Fort Knox. I'm just being totally honest with you. But then it also came with that pride that she gave us. And, you know, especially when we hit puberty, you know, that we were beautiful. Oh, you're beautiful, you're this. And it empowered us. It empowered us mentally. I so thank God for that, because my mother she was different in a wonderful way. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad she didn't make us feel ashamed of ourselves. And Annette can attest to that. And so because of that, we felt empowered. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, then you're not going to let anybody. Exactly. Or if they do, you're going to tell.
Right. Exactly. Great point. Okay.
Love it. My co-host on Thursday night is on. He says the fact that we must have conversations like this is heartbreaking. And I agree with that. But I just jump on again, you know, when you said, can we eradicate this behavior? We can't go around and change everybody, but you can educate. I think that is so key. You have to, you know, like Gwen was talking about our mom, how she did this. You have to talk to your children about their bodies. You have to. I'm not a mom myself, but I totally agree with that. We can't skirt around it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. However you need to break it down to, you say you thought about doing a theatrical or whatever performance, but you just had to break it down, however you need to, they need to understand and know this thing is real. I need to be on guard and watch out for it. But yeah. Let's see, Apostle says, that's an excellent point, Gwen. If a child is ashamed of their body, then someone who is trying to manipulate them will exploit that insecurity. Mm-hmm. I read that because I want to segue. I'm sorry, my eyes fell on a comment from Walter Jones, and it should never do that when you're he says he sees a book coming, Gwen. Our cats are gone. I saw it. Okay, back to my point. I was trying to piggyback off of what Apostle said here. When you started talking about your experience and how the 15-year-old, he started pulling on your hair, and then you're like, don't do that. He could probably, tell how sensitive you are. Mm-hmm. Or that I could probably pick on her because she's really not going to say anything. Right. And for him to say to you, this is between us. Mm-hmm. He was really believing that you were going to keep it. Right. Between. So they know who to prey on. Yeah, they do. You're right. So that's what they go after. And so that's another thing we have to instruct our children as well. Okay, you need to be like this because they prey on, you know what I'm saying? Would you agree with that? Absolutely. That's something I have wrote in my notes, which I couldn't print out, but because I've always thought about why me? Like, what was it about me that, and during that time, I was very compliant. I always say yes. I always, even to this day, my mother would say, I'd say, yes, mom. I would never answer yeah or what, or she just taught us that. And that's just something that grew with me. But even at that age, I was very respectful, docile, really quiet, willing to help at any time, where other kids my age would want to be sitting in front of the TV. I want to be in the kitchen cooking and looking and, asking questions. And that's what I thought. I said, he preyed on me because he knew that I wouldn't say anything right away. And yeah, he preyed on me. He watched me. That's how pedophiles do, right? They watch, they prey. That's what prey means. They're watching patterns of how you respond to things. And so they set it up like that. And I think just even realizing I was going to do this and talk, I began to really think about it. Why me? Like and who knows, there maybe were other children that it happened to as well, because I don't think people just wake up. I mean, they initially do wake up one morning and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do, or I'm going to try this, but it becomes a pattern. And so they see how far they can get with one, and then they try it on another one. So I know for a fact, each one of my victors, they've done it to other children too, because it's just not an isolated incident. I don't believe that at all. So I can almost guarantee you that he was abused himself. Oh yeah, absolutely, in some form. I do believe that too. I do. What is the saying? Hurt people. They, and that's another thing I thank God for, that I didn't seek out to be an abuser, to abuse anybody, because women are abusers as well, right? And not sexual abusers as well. And so I really thank God for that covering, making sure that I didn't want anybody else to feel that, or I wasn't curious to inflict that type of pain on somebody else, because that's what it is too. It's curiosity. Sometimes people aren't pedophiles in the true sense of the word, but they want the control over people, that, that gratification of having control. And so I really thank God that that was never part of my makeup, wanting to inflict that type of control or power over someone else. So, ooh, light bulb just went off in my head. I'm going to throw something out to you. With that in mind, what you just mentioned, what if you come across as an advocate, a child or individual who may have been abused, they may have been taught, been educated, and unfortunately something happened where they were abused. So how do you address that with them so that they will not become an abuser themselves?
Yeah, that's a doozy, Annette. Whew.
You can think about it.
Yeah. Because I go right into, I'm not on that side. I'm in the protective side. That's a little out of my scope. You know what I mean? I'm just defense. I want to protect.
Right. And you want to prevent.
I want to prevent, prevention. Yeah.
But then we want to think about also, and this is not just, for you or whatever, there may be some therapists out here that are watching or whatever, you may have an exact response to this, because we want to think about those, just like I mentioned about the 15-year-old may have been abused themselves. If somebody could have circumvented, they could have, done something to help him, then possibly he would not have done anything to you or anybody else. So how do we address those that have been abused and to cut off that behavior?
Because I think even too, so if I'm out speaking on prevention and there's somebody there who has been an aggressor, I mean, maybe that's something to even, because they're not going to come out and say, hey, I've done this to people. It's going to have to, I think, just more with education and awareness as well, they would want to go and seek help. And that's something, I'm going to write that down, because that is something that I've never even thought to even have that as a presentation, especially for my high schoolers when I go, because this kid was in my abuser was in high school. So, but yeah, that's something to really consider including into my presentations, education and awareness presentations.
Okay, all right.
Good point.
Gwen, did you have something?
Now, I know that as a Christian, if you would, you have been taught or have forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
If you see him again today, I know you saw him just after you finished your degree, but if you see him today, could you ever have a conversation with him? Could you ever speak the words, I forgive you, even though he may not ask for forgiveness? Could that be a part of your healing? Could you be in a forum like this where he's on with us and you talk to him about what he did to you?
I have forgiven him. I'm not sure about meeting. I don't know about that much yet. I don't know, but from what I'm understanding about forgiveness, because I had to go through this two times, in this context, 2 times. I don't know. I don't know about, it's so weird because I don't know about him, the 8-year-old abuser. The other abuser, I have reached out to and asked for forgiveness, asked him, I wrote him a letter. I was coming home and I wrote him a letter and I said, I need to get past this. So I need you to acknowledge what you did to me so I can get past this. So I wrote him a letter stating all this. I told him where I would be. I told him also that this is between him and I. I would never disclose this to anybody else, but I needed to hear something from you to let me know that you did this to me, I need you to acknowledge this. And I think that would help me process. And I think in turn will help me forgive you, because then I'd be looking at you like, oh, you're poor, you're a poor soul or whatever. And then have pity and empathy for you. And then that would help in that whole process. That never happened. I sent the letter. I know he got it. And I even went to the location to where I had suggested in my letter. And I waited for 2 hours just thinking he would appear, and nothing ever happened. So it was at that moment, maybe a couple of days later, I just got myself together and I said, you know what? I got to move on. If I don't, this is going to tear me apart to shreds if I don't. And the first thing I did was seek out a therapist right after that. So, and I think with the 8-year-old abuser, I just haven't come to terms with that yet, because I think not only the natural pain, but the physical pain of that. I think that's what's just so embedded in me. The pain. Now I'm thinking, you know, when I think in my adult self, thinking about the pain you inflicted on an 8-year-old body.
Incredible. Can I ask you something personal?
Yes.
I don't know if you're willing to share, but we already told the kids to shoo. Has your experience had a negative effect on your sexual relationship with your husband?
I can't say that it has, I should say. Not sexual so much, more just like our communication sometimes in other areas of our relationship.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think when it comes to my sexual relationship with him or sexual, our intimacy, I put my whole self into it so I can feel protected. I do. We could have had just the biggest fallout. I call them intense fellowships. But when that time for us to come, hey babe, if you're watching, and when that time for us to come together, I put it all in him. I mean, because that's part of my feeling safe with him. That vulnerability, that protection that I needed, because I didn't have a father growing up and a whole slew of other things. But that part, when it's time for that, I throw my whole self into it. I mean, completely. And it's been that way for almost 19 years with us. I don't think about anything because that's in my mind, that's where my protection I feel comes from with him.
Beautiful. Oh my God, that is just, I'm in tears. That is absolutely positively beautiful. And I'm sure that's part of your healing, but to say, wow, you know, that's my protector. So I'm putting it all, that's where my trust is.
Yeah.
He's not going to hurt me. Beautiful.
Yeah. And you had to have the right one to do that with.
Oh, yes. Because he read it right, ANet. That is so true. Because someone else could have just been like, get what they need from me and then be gone, right? Just like what happened to me at 8. He did what he had to do and got up and left me.
Mm-hmm.
But we know what, you know, the intimate, it's just not about sex. It's about intimacy, making sure I'm okay before and making sure I'm okay afterwards.
Oh, no. Yes.
Especially afterwards, because, you know, when you're satisfied, you're like, I'm good, you know, but to make sure I'm safe afterwards and I'm okay, whether it's helping me up, however way it happened, whatever, but just making sure I'm safe. And that's what's so important.
That's beautiful, girl. That's beautiful. Just straight away, basically speaking, that's beautiful. So you know what? I so appreciate you being open and honest, because you don't have to answer any of the questions, but you didn't have to answer that. But you know what? Hopefully that'll give somebody who's experienced what you've experienced hope. And I think that's what this is all about.
That's what it's all about. That's
appreciate
exactly what it's all about. That's exactly.
And it's something you should say that I see this comment that just popped up from Melissa. She said, that's beautiful. She said, I was never able to do that. She said, you are truly an inspiration.
Oh, thank you, Alyssa.
I love this. Natasha says, forgiveness takes you only reconciliation takes 2. Oh, takes 1. Is that what you meant? All right. Reconciliation takes 2, but forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation has to occur. All right.
That's true. Yep.
And Apostle Hunt says you can forgive and still not want to be around them ever again.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's what I was getting to with the 8-year-old abuser. Yeah, I forgive him because it puts a stain on how you move forward if you don't forgive. And you acknowledge it, but some of your actions may not show. But I trust God so much these days that I know he's gonna, you know, if anything were to ever come up, he'd give me the strength to get through it. So I'm not even worried on that front.
Beautiful. Oh, I love this. Mechelle, Natasha says she loves you.
I love you, Natasha.
Let's see, Leslie said this was well needed. Thank you so much. Chloe Brooks, I see you on. Thanks for watching. Oh, you came in on your break, I see. I think Zuri was on his break earlier as well. Thank you so much. Kevin Strong, I see you. Thanks for watching. Chris King says, bless you, Mechelle. God is going to use you through your horrible experiences to help and save others.
Thank you.
Thank you for stepping up and allowing him to use you to be that advocate, because you could go about your business and do nothing. I totally agree. I give you 1,000 likes for that, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
And yes, so with that in mind, segueing into what you're doing now, we know you're an advocate now. You want to talk a little bit more about how you're paying it forward? I know you have a great program, talking about the umbrellas and being covered. I'm throwing that out there, but she's going to give us a little bit more about that. Why don't you talk to us about what Mechelle is doing now?
Okay, so one way that I feel with my mission to help, because it's one thing to go out into schools and that's admirable, and I really find a lot of pleasure in doing that. But I also wanted to do something a little more tangible, and the Lord had given me this umbrella initiative to do called "You Are Covered." And several years ago, my brother and I were out driving, and it was late at night, and we came to a stop sign. There was a little older woman standing at the bus stop, and it was pouring raining. And I told my brother, I was like, man, if this world just went so crazy, I'd ask her if she wanted a ride, and we put her in the car and just take her where she needed to go. I was like, but we can't. So I started talking to him. I was like, it would be nice to just have an umbrella just to give to people. If you see them uncovered, you see them caught in the rain, uncovered. It would be so nice. He's like, yeah, why aren't you going to get that started? So that was about 5 or 6 years ago. And then when I turned 40, I had a little impromptu birthday dinner downtown Chicago. And on my way back home, Terry Chancellor was driving me home, and I brought it up to her again. I brought it up again. I was like, wow, it would just be so nice to, she's like, you need to get that going right now. You need to get it going. And I was like, you think so? She was like, I will get the Ziploc bags for you, because I told her the vision. She said she would get the Ziploc bags. And so I still didn't move. I had children. I had, a lot of things going on, making excuses why I didn't get it started. Anyway, it wasn't until 2018 where I just went. I called up a good girlfriend of mine who I just bounced stuff off of. And I said, you know what? I got to get this campaign going. I reached out to a company. I had them make me umbrellas that said, you are covered, with the number 11, which is my birthday, June 11th, and then the word intuitive. And they came. I had a little launch party for it. And I asked each of my friends, I gave them 2 umbrellas each with a bag. And I said, I need you all, because it's a form of ministry too. I need you all, when you see people out, you keep your umbrellas in your car. And when you see people out in the street and it's raining and they don't have one, I need you to give them the umbrella and tell them they are covered. And I had a little message attached to the umbrella that talked about, sometimes we are caught off guard, but you still have a covering. On the back of the card, it had numbers to like sexual abuse hotlines, domestic violence, a church if people needed a church, and some other things on there. And it was such a blessing, when I tell you all, to be able to see my umbrellas out and about. I just shipped a whole lot over to Haiti, to a girls' school in Haiti. And I got pictures back showing me the children have these umbrellas. And so it's just a way to encourage people. We've all been out, got caught off guard by the rain, right? And I know I'm feeling, most of the time, I say to myself, I should have brought an umbrella, because I have plenty of them. This was before this movement. But it's not a good feeling to be caught, but to have somebody come to you, to see you in pain and in agony, whatever your disposition is at that time, say, hey. And you know what? I realized too, when I would give out these umbrellas to people, a lot of people weren't so readily willing to receive them, right? They were very reluctant. And I felt like it was because humanity, we don't show that type of just kindness, generosity a lot throughout our humanity. And so this was another way to just let people know, hey, I see you, I'm concerned about you, and pay it forward, because they don't keep the umbrella, they have to pay it forward, give it to someone else.
Love it.
Yeah, so that's my
concept.
And I got to send you all some too. I have to send you all, because there's a website on there too that not a website, my email. So when people receive the umbrella, they have to let me know where they were when they got covered. Go to the website, my email.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I love it. Please make sure when you get a chance, put your email, contact information in the comment section on the Facebook Live feed. And then we'll make sure that it's also over there on YouTube as well, because I might have viewers over there. But that is wonderful. That is such a, oh God, when you think about it, it's like, oh goodness, it could have went another way. It could have gone another way.
It could have, Annette. It really could have. It could have gone a horrible way. It could have absolutely gone a horrible way. It could have.
Oh man. Is my sister okay over there? My goodness. My sister's very emotional.
It's so Gwen.
But that's all those things are really.
Yeah. Because it could have. You could have used this as an excuse to be a non-productive citizen, and you did not. And we know that it is the grace of God. We know that God orders our steps. We know, when we give it to him. So I thank God for that. I just need you to know that.
Thank you, Gwen.
Because you're touching so many lives positively. And, like Annette said, it didn't have to be that way, but I thank God for you. I do.
Thank you. Thank you, Gwen. It means a lot to me.
I'm going to prepare us so that I can play the spoken word that was penned by Elder Kevin McGee. He has a show at Intellectual Radio, which is also where Mind, Body, and Soul airs every week. Saturdays at 12 noon is when his show airs. And as I always state every week, he normally pens a spoken word for the current topic of the day. And we have a very powerful one for today. He was eager and ready to write this. Actually, he gave it to me like days before he normally does. So I want to play that now. And I do see Walter Jones that I'll have to wait. I'm going to play the spoken word. So prepare your hearts. Let me know if you can hear. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear this being played.
Can anyone see me? See the tears that streams down my face, although I've learned how to internalize my weeping. Because if I was caught crying, then someone would ask what's wrong. And if I would tell them, then I would get in trouble and become the blame for the problem that I have. But I need someone to see me. Then maybe they can come to my rescue when the boogeyman visits and does those things that hurts me and eats away at my inside, making me feel small and insignificant and dirty and nasty. And when I'm around my parents and the boogeyman comes over and wants to take me out for ice cream, but I protest and beg them to let me stay, they always make me go with him. My Uncle Boogeyman, who they say really loves me. That was 30 years ago. Yet my younger years haunted me until recently, when I stopped being afraid of the boogeyman. When I realized how small and feeble the boogeyman had become, because I think the one thing that the boogeyman never thought about is that we both would get older, but he would get weaker and I would get stronger. And no more would I cower in his presence, this small man who is now alone, no one to watch over him. And when I see him, I see a fear in his eyes, which lets him know that I haven't forgotten. And now he cowers in fear, not knowing what I will do, especially when he sees me smile. As I turn out the lights, close the door, tossing him a copy of a book that tells my story, entitled The Boogeyman Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Wow.
Woo.
Just had to stop for a moment there.
Woo.
Thank you, Elder McGee. That was so on point. Mechelle, are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah. There's so many on here that are encouraging you, sweetie. They are Alyssa says you're seriously an amazing human. Natasha says our pain has purpose. They are enjoying your beautiful, what you started with the umbrellas, your ministry, being an advocate. My dear sister, I encourage you to continue doing what God has given you to do, to help educate. You have such a heart for children. You're such a big heart anyway. Stay the way that you are.
Thank you.
I agree with that comment. Our pain has purpose. I do. And I thank God that you have turned it around to be able to help somebody else. I love you so much. And
thank you, ANet. Thank you so much. This means so much to me, having this opportunity. I've never shared this in this way. Bits and pieces maybe, but thank you. Thank you for creating this space. I wish you all the best in all your endeavors with this, creating a space for people to come and really share their stories. I do, from the bottom of my heart. I thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I got you. I got you. I do.
I know you do. I feel you. I feel your love. I do. I really do. I do, from your messages through the inbox. I just feel your love. Of course, I do.
My sister said,
one thing I'd like
before I do that, I was going to say that when I asked her about coming on, I posed it to her, but then I said, pray about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you all saw, many of you saw her post that actually prompted me hitting her in her inbox. Because we talked a little bit before, and I think I knew a little bit. So your post wasn't a huge surprise to me.
Right.
I think you shared something with me before.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh my goodness, let me see if she would desire to do this. And it seemed like you were kind of slow in responding.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, well, pray about it. Because, I don't know exactly, where people are sometimes. Putting up a post is different from being,
right.
Okay. So I wanted you to make sure that you were comfortable enough. And then we, started talking about how we would do it. She agreed like the next morning because she got a confirmation.
I got three. I told God before I went to bed, because I freeze up when I speak. I have so much that I just be freezing up. This is the most comfortable I have, maybe because we're not tangible, but this is the most comfortable I have felt. And sometimes it's due to when you're passionate about something, you want to get it out. So I just asked God to really help me. But when I went to sleep that night and I said, God, if you want me to do this, you're going to have people say something to me, like they want to hear it or they've been through it. That's the only way I'm going to move, because I would feel at that point that people are open. And I got inboxes. I got one of my childhood friends. She was so sad. She was like, you didn't tell me. Why didn't you tell me? She said, I would have beat his butt. She didn't use butt. She used another word. But I was like, you know what? It's time. It's time. It's time to do it. It's time. So thanks for pushing. You didn't push. You opened it up for me, and and you gave me a choice to walk into it or not. So I just, from the bottom of my heart, I really do. I appreciate you for that always.
You're welcome, sweetie. Gwendolyn?
On behalf of everybody here and all of the children whose lives you touch, did you ever know that you're my hero? Ooh, and everything I'd like to be. Oh, I can fly higher than an eagle, 'cause you are the wind beneath my wings. Oh, you are the wind beneath my wings. Oh, sister, you're the wind beneath our wings.
Thank you, Gwen. That was beautiful.
Oh.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
You're welcome. Boo.
Oh, I'm a mess, y'all. That's where I go. Oh my God.
Let me read some. Deacon Greg, we see you on. Thanks for watching. As my guests is getting themselves together, we're ending though. We're going to end. So if you are just not joining us, you are going to have to rewind and listen to the show in its entirety. Kmetris says this was an amazing show today. Thank you, ANet, for using your platform to continue bringing awareness in so many needed areas. God bless you, Mechelle, and thank you again for sharing your story. Praying for all of your endeavors as you continue to advocate on behalf of abused children. Be strong and of good courage.
Thank you.
Alyssa says, sending you the biggest virtual hug. You have helped to heal me just a little bit more today.
Awesome.
Beyond.
To God be the glory. To God be the glory. To God be the glory.
Oh, okay, Alyssa, you just touched me. My goodness. Bridget Jones, oh, thanks for joining in. You're going to have to go ahead and rewind because we're going to end today. I guess we could end on a little humor with Sir Walter. He says he's so glad he executive produced this show. We all know that's not true. That's okay.
Maestro. We gotta love him, right? We just gotta love him. Gotta love him.
Angela says that's powerful. You are covered. Janetta, I see you over here on the watch party. Wanda B, thank you for watching. We do appreciate each and every one of you. If I did not call your name on today, it's just because I didn't see it. Charge it to my head, not my heart. This was a very intense conversation on today. And of course, we were giving time to our guest to be open and to share her story. And if we just helped one person, then we have done our job on today. I do encourage you guys to go to my website, GetCaughtInANetRadio.com, to look at past shows, upcoming guests. We have all that information over there for you. And also, we'll be continuing on next week, Dr. Hill, 4th Wednesday, and then on the 30th. Somebody say the 30th. I sound like I'm in church. On the 30th, I actually have 2 shows in one day. One at 12 noon, Ministry Spouses segment. And I am going to have a show on that evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we're going to talk to 3 different interracial couples about their experience, their thoughts, and what they're dealing with in today's climate that we're in now. All right, this racial injustice that we are experiencing. We want to talk to these interracial couples to see what their thoughts are on that. Apostle Dion Hunt will be with me, co-hosting that show. Please join us on tomorrow, Apostle Dion and I, at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. We have a great topic coming up. Please look out for the promos. And we just really hope that you all can join us on AMD tomorrow night as well. Also, on the 21st, yeah, I'm a little busy. I'll do a special segment, again, another I Fit the Description segment. Real Talk is what we're calling this session. I'm going to bring back many of the young millennial African-American young men who are fathers and teachers, educators. They have their careers going. So we want to talk to them again. We have got another little spin we're going to do with this. Apostle, I'm bringing him in to help me out with that show as well. So he'll be with me. And so I want you guys to make sure you catch up with me, with all that we have to do. And I believe when I set my shows, I'm always trying to ask God what he wants me to do. And I believe that I always want to move in his timing, number one, and to do exactly what he has me to do and to bring on who he has me to bring on. And I do appreciate you again, Mechelle, for coming on today. Look like you kind of guys talked a little bit. You got yourself a little bit together there.
Yeah, I'm together now.
Oh, my love.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, ANet. Thank you again.
You are so welcome.
It was nice seeing you too.
Oh, same here. Mwah.
Yes, my sister, I'm telling you, she's a ram in the bush for me. She's always coming in and helping out her baby sister. She loves her. She loves her baby sister. Do you hear me?
I can tell.
Loves her baby sister. You cannot mess with her baby sister. She can mess with me, but you can't mess with me. She'll get you. But I love you, sister. Thank you so much for coming in and helping us out on today and your wonderful questions. And we're going to get out of here. Oh, my goodness. I need to get myself set up. You know, this producing is quite interesting. But I have to get myself up to do my end jingle. But I do want you guys, of course, to make sure, like I stated earlier, to go to my website so that you will make sure that you won't miss out on anything. I don't want you to miss anything. What I want you to do is to take time out to get caught in a net.
Get caught in a net with ANet. For your mind, body, and soul. Get caught in a net with ANet. It's your intellectual radio show, here to inspire you and encourage you to be your very best. Get caught in a net with ANet.
All right, guys, thank you so much. You know what I always tell you at the end of every show, make sure you stay safe. Kmetris wanted to sing again. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, and we will see you soon. Peace.